Peace, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from who to rule well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude, until I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. And the title for this one's going to be, We Are Not Ignorant of Satan's Devices. Going into all the different gimmicks, psyops, agenda that the so-called white man, which is really Esau Edom, is pushing. Ultimately, to get the MOTB system up and running, because this devil knows that he has a short time, so he has to come down with that great wrath. And he's doing it through these so-called ICE agents by adding billions of dollars into the budget, pretty much militarizing Homeland Security, which really is to get at the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, because Esau Edom, he knows who the true Israelites are. And that's why he's coming down so hard, not just on the Northern Kingdom a couple of months ago till today, but also the Southern Kingdom, because now he has the National Guard going into these different cities to establish order, because there's so much crime. But really, is him trying to bring order out of chaos, so he could crash this system and eventually bring in that new system, that MOTB system. But only the elect of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai know what the plans of the so-called white man is, which to get everybody hipped up so he can have that full control over humanity. But we know that he's not going to have the entire earth under his grip. He's going to hip up 2/3 of our people and the rest of these heathens, but he's not going to touch the elect. And that's really who he wants to touch, is to touch the elect of the nation of Israel, that comprise of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. But the elect of the nation of Israel aren't going to be ignorant. They're not going to be caught unaware, because ultimately Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai put it upon their spirit to realize, to be aware of what this devil is doing and what he's about to do, which is crash this system, do away with the dollar, and bring in that new digital currency system, which is going to be ran through that MOTB, which is a micro CHIP. And to be able to participate in society, you're going to have that micro CHIP, that MOTB, which majority of the world is going to take, because ultimately they're unaware of this devil's devices, of his plans, and what the end goal is. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And the elect are not going to be taken advantage like the 2/3 of our people and these heathens, because these 2/3 Jakes and these heathens, they're completely unaware of what this devil is doing. Yeah, you got some truthers, some preppers that know what the white man is doing, that know that MOTB is about to be made mandatory, but they don't know how to really escape it, because their way of escaping this new system is going to be through carnally prepping, carnal means, building farms and militias and survival groups. No, ultimately that's all going to be done away with, because if you're not covered by the blood of Yahushua, it doesn't even matter. It don't matter how much you prep and build all these farms and gardens. Ultimately, if Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua isn't dealing with you, then it don't matter how much you prep. Ultimately is all, if the Lord is going to preserve you, which he's going to preserve the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, which consists of the 144,000, and the rest of that 1/3, the large multitude, the believers, helps, friends of the prophets, because Yahweh Bashem Yahushai put it upon his spirit to not be taken by the devices of these devils, unlike the 2/3 of Jake and these heathens that are going to be taken by the devices, by the micro Sihib, by martial law, the order out of chaos. Because ultimately Yahweh Bashem Yahushai has blinded majority of the people up on the planet Earth, especially 2/3 of Jake. And then you do have some Jake that's aware, but their way of escaping the upcoming calamities is through carnal means. And ultimately that's not going to be a way out. That's not going to be able to keep Jake when all hell breaks loose. The only way out is through Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 3. But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost. And the majority of the world is lost, especially the 2/3 of Jake that are completely unaware of what the hell is going on, what's about to take place upon the planet Earth, what this devil, the so-called white man, is about to do, which is try to bring in his due technological age, the fourth industrial revolution. The majority of Jake is lost. They don't know what's about to take place, taken by the cares of the world with the distractions, the bread and circus. So majority of Jake is lost. These people in the world are lost. Even if they know what's about to happen, ultimately they don't really know how to escape it. And a lot of them are okay with this new digital system, but they want a so-called righteous ruler, righteous president, which ultimately what needs to be established is the kingdom of heaven upon the planet Earth, because that's the true solution to everything that's going around the world, from the polluted air, polluted water, GMO foods, people being out of order, women being out of order. Ultimately all this needs to be done away with, and for that to happen, the system has to crash. Verse 4, in whom the power of this world had blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Hamashiach, who is the image of Yahweh, should shine unto them. And ultimately the God of this world, Satan, and his physical counterpart, the so-called white man, which is Esau, Edom, they're blinded. They've been blinded. Ultimately it's Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, but it is Satan that has blinded the minds of these people to not understand what is taking place, what's happening right in front of their eyes. This new AI digital system being lifted up, being established right in front of their faces, but they don't seem to care, because Yahweh Bashem Yahushai has blinded majority of these people, because they're going to get taken by these devices. They're going to get taken by the MOTB. They're going to get taken by the incentives that Esau Edom is going to offer if you take that Charagma. This is Isaiah 29 and verse 9. Stay yourselves and wonder. Cry ye out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. So ultimately, majority of these people up on the planet Earth, especially the 2/3 of our people here in America, they're drunk. They're drunken off the Babylonian wine, the Babylonian ways of life. Do as thou wilt. Keeping up with the Joneses, the American dream. So these people are through. They still believe that this system somehow is going to bounce back, that it has hope, that it's going to be like another 2008, and after it crashes, it's going to bounce back. No, this is the crash is going to make that turning point of no return, where it's going to lead to this devil to make that MOTB made mandatory. You're going to have to take it, or you won't be able to participate in society. And eventually it's going to be so bad that Yahweh Shai is going to have to come and bring this devil down and deliver his elect. But majority of these people, they're lost in the sauce. Don't know what the hell is going on, but that's the Lord put in that spirit of deep sleep, because he doesn't want them to understand it. He wants them to be taken by the devices of this devil. He wants them to be taken by martial law, and then during Jacob's trouble, and ultimately to take that charagma, to take that MOTB, because they're okay with this devil being in power. They're okay with the wickedness, and ultimately that's why Yahweh Bashmiel Shai is going to give them up to these devices, because they're okay. They're they consent to it. They're not like the elect that are sighing and crying for all the abominations that are being done is in the midst thereof, like it says in Ezekiel chapter 9. Ultimately the elect are going to receive that mark of exemption, that tawa, while the rest of these people that have been put to sleep, they're going to receive that other mark, the MOTB, which is the charagma. Verse 10, for the Lord had poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and that closed your eyes, the prophets and your rulers, the seers have he covered. So Yahweh Bashmiel Shai put it upon the spirit of these 2/3 Jakes, along with their spiritual leaders, their Christian pastors, Roman Catholic pastors, and even these Israelites. They know that they're Israelites that are teaching false doctrine. That's the Lord that put it up on their spirit to not warn their people, to not break down the Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16 correctly, because he doesn't want them to get it. He wants them to be taken by Satan's devices. He wants them to be taken by the MOTB, the micro C-hib, the charagma, because Yahweh Bashmiel Shai doesn't want majority of Jake to get it, and they're not going to get it, because the Lord has already put it upon his spirit to not understand the truth, because he didn't give him the Rakakwadash, the Holy Spirit, to understand what's going on around the world and what's about to take place. Only the elect have been given the Holy Spirit to understand what's about to happen, while the rest of these Jakes out here and these heathens, they're about to be taken by these devices that Esau Edom has already pretty much gotten ready to push to the world. This is 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. And only the elect of the nation of Israel, us of the hopeful elect, Lord willing, to be a part of that number. We're in that sober mindset. Not saying that you can't have a drink, you can't have some wine or a beer. No, ultimately it's going into being aware of what's going on. Not being drunken with the cares of the world, with the Babylonian wine, with the bread and circus, with the American dream, like majority of these people are. They're asleep. They're drunken. They don't know what the hell's going on. They're black and I'll say they blacked out. But when they get woken up off of that drunken state, they're gonna be like, damn, what the, it's gonna be too late. They're gonna be micro C hipped up because they trusted in this devil, they trusted in this system, and ultimately that's because Yahweh Bashmiel Shai put them to sleep. They weren't sober, unlike the elect. They're gonna be sober. They're gonna be vigilant. They're gonna be on that watchtower to see what this devil's next move is. Unlike the 2/3 of our people in these heathens are going to be taken by that roaring lion. They're going to get devoured up during the time of Jacob's trouble. They're going to get devoured up during martial law, and eventually they're going to get devoured up by those missiles. Because Jake, these 2/3 Jake, and these heathens, they believe in this system. They've been persuaded by the way this devil speaks. Through his his politicians, his mayors, presidents, and that's what's going to lead to a lot of our people, and these heathens to get taken by the craftiness of this devil to take this MOTB. This is Psalms 55 and verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So that's how a lot of our people and these heathens, they're going to get taken by the words that this devil's going to speak. He's going to offer this solution for this economy to just collapse, the dollar just collapse. He's going to be like, if you take this MOTB, this micro C hipped up, everything's going to be okay. He's even going to get to the point where he's going to offer, so-called immortality. If you take this MOTB, you'll be able to live forever. You'll be able to be a cyborg. Put these different parts in your body that could, make you live longer, and all this madness that this devil's gonna push upon these people to get them to comply with this new beast system. And that's why they're gonna get taken, because it's gonna sound good. It's gonna sound pleasing. He's gonna offer that universal basic income. So it's gonna be nothing for these people to take that MOTB and to be deceived by this devil. But ultimately, we know what the end of those who take the MOTB is. This is Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, said the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and they cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. So majority of our people, they're not taking counsel of the Lord. They're not taking heed to what Yahweh Bashmiel Shai is saying. Instead, they're taking counsel of Esau Edom. What is Esau Edom saying? What is the so-called white man saying? He's saying to take this MOTB. He's saying to trust this system. He's saying to take this jump juice, jump shot juice, the C19 juice, because they think that it's good, but ultimately that's going to lead to their destruction. Like it says, woe to the rebellious children. So destruction to rebellious children that chose not to take heed to Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, and instead chose to take heed to this devil, the so-called white man. Verse 2, they walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked in my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. So just like 5 years ago, a lot of Jake, they didn't trust in Yahweh Bashmiel Shai. They chose to trust in the devil because they were scared to lose their jobs. They were scared to not be able to go outside. You had to wear a mask. So they chose to trust in Egypt. They chose to trust in Pharaoh, which today would be the so-called white man. And it's going to be the same thing when that MOTB gets made mandatory. When these people haven't ate in days, it's going to be nothing for them to go down to those sea hipping stations and extend their hand out and take that MOTB. Verse 3, therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. So when all these people go down there and take that Karagma, the MOTB, they're going to realize they fucked up. Especially when they see those missiles flying over their heads, they're really going to be like, damn, I'm through. I remember those guys on the highways and byways telling me to not take this MOTB, to come back to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, because I remember telling me that this was going to happen and it's going to be too late. But the elect of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai are going to be okay. They're going to be delivered from those missiles. They're going to be kept during Jacob's trouble. They're going to be kept during the hour of temptation, while the rest of these 2/3, they're going to be taken by these devices that the so-called white man has ready to be pushed upon the planet Earth. This is Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 11. Put on the whole armor of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. So put on the whole armor, put on this truth, this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, the fear of the Lord, and be rooted in that, because that's the only thing that's going to keep us stable right now during Jacob's trouble. Like it says in Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 6, that's the only, defense that we got. Not no damn Glock and a bunker. No, ultimately, this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that was given unto us by Yahweh Bashmiel Shai is the only thing that's going to keep us stable. The only way out is Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, not no damn bunker and prepping. No, because it's spiritual. Like it says right here in verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So ultimately, all these wicked elite, they have conjured up all these wicked ass NWO plans. Ultimately, is Yahweh Bashmiel Shai sending those evil spirits to convince these devils that they're gonna win, that they're gonna have the whole world micro C hipped up, they're going to do away with the nation of Israel, but that's the Lord putting it upon these kings' minds to think that, but that's a snare and a trap. This is Revelation chapter 3 and verse 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon earth. So the elect are going to be kept from these devices. They're going to be kept from the micro C-hip. They're going to be kept during the hour of temptation, when the whole world is going to get tested. The Lord is going to put it up on the spirit of the elect to not take that micro C-hip up, because their faith has gotten built up to that point where it's like, nah, fuck this system, fuck this so-called white man, fuck this, because we're ready for the kingdom of heaven. Unlike these 2/3 Jakes and these heathens, they don't want to let go of America, Babylon the Great. They don't want to let go of working their jobs and going to these 9-to-5s. They don't want to let go of their 401ks and their bread and circus. They want to stay here. In ultimate sense, they want to be here so bad, the Lord's going to leave them here. He's going to leave the 2/3 here. He's going to leave these heathens that are going to take that micro C hipped up, because since they wanted to bow down to the system, then the Lord is going to leave them here. But he's not going to leave his elect here. He's going to deliver his elect. He's going to beam up his elect, starting with the 144,000 and the 1/3. While the rest of these wicked 2/3 Jakes and these heathens are going to be left here to be burned up, since they wanted to trust this devil so bad. But that's pretty much the point. I pray this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from and who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Unto you I say Shalom.